When it comes to the Naruto universe, no clan is more notable than the likes of the Uchiha clan, whether it be for the notorious death of their clan or their notorious genjutsu and dojutsu abilities. A big question that's asked about this and one of the most argued upon things is who are the strongest in the Uchiha clan. Today we'll be going over the most notable characters on this list and go from weakest to strongest and figure out who truly is the strongest in the Uchiha clan. A few things before we start. I'm going to steer very clear from most novel work as I don't believe they're really canon, but I'll talk about that in another video. And I'll steer clear from a lot of movies as I want to talk about mainly the source material itself and go through what that says about Uchiha clan. So let's start off with number 7 being Fugaku. When it comes to main continuity, Fugaku doesn't have a whole lot of scaling. We can't really talk about much as a lot of the stuff we have come from things like the anime, which is filler-like concepts. When it comes to actually going through the feats he does have, we more have to rely on the narrative being that he was the leader of the police force and he was the leader of the Uchiha clan, which would probably lead credence to say he was one of the strongest. Now the reason why he scores so low is that the vast majority of these characters actually have inverse scaling we can compare other characters to, while Fugaku kind of lacks it. The other thing too is that he doesn't really have much of a named dojutsu ability. All we know is that he probably has some basic to high level dojutsu involving genjutsu, but no really named abilities or anything we could say like a Susanoo, which we would probably argue gets him higher. Now to the next character in this list being number 6, Shisui. Now of course Shisui has a similar problem to Fugaku, which is in canon we don't really see him do a lot and we don't have a lot of actual inverse scaling that's applicable. Now of course he does have a few things that put him over Fugaku, being he's far more revered, his genjutsu's hold on a far higher pedestal, and he's seemingly implied within the canon stuff we do see to be relative to a young Itachi, who was also revered as one of the strongest in his clan, not long after finding Shisui being capable of killing Orochimaru pretty casually. Now of course you could argue Itachi got way stronger after awakening the MS, which is probably true, which would then land credence to say that Shisui may not be on his level, but on that same realm, we also have to acknowledge that there's something else that pushed Shisui above Fugaku, which is his use of the Koto Matsukami. As you know by the 5 nations as described, Shisui is one of the most revered genjutsu specialists of all time, especially for things like the Koto Matsukami and his even simpler genjutsu. So I'd probably be on the stand that Shisui would probably be able to take on Fugaku in a genjutsu off, which would give him the advantage, especially since there's nothing really saying Fugaku could blitz him. I would be more on the fence to say Shisui would out genjutsu Fugaku and defeat him that way. Next on this list is far the easiest to rank, being Itachi Uchiha. Him at number 5 makes the most sense since he's so below the people above him, but he's so above people like Shisui and Fugaku. The reason why this is the case is because he actually has inverse scaling. For one, he does far better against Kabuto than EMS Sasuke does, which should put him above even the MS Sasuke who fought the Raikage and killed Danzo. On top of that, he did well against Nagato, arguably better than KCM1 Naruto did and Killer B did, which is even more impressive as he showed pure relativity to him and even managed to blitz Nagato at one point in the fight. So yeah, Itachi is by far the easiest to rank on this list as he is far above the likes of Shisui and Fugaku, as they don't have any scaling that puts him even close to the likes of MS Sasuke or Nagato, who Itachi should competently scale above MS Sasuke and relative to that Nagato. Number 3 and 4 is really interchangeable. It goes between Sarada, Uchiha, and Jubito. Now the reason why this is so interchangeable is because it matters on how you interpret Boruto scaling. Now, Boro is our main basis of scaling for Sarada. Sarada with the Chidori blitzes Boro and showed AP probably relative if not above him. Now, of course, then we have to question, well, Kara Inus should be roughly Delta level, as seemingly by their conversation, Boro implied he was above Delta. Now, the problem with this is that it's just not shown. In terms of actual fighting, Boro is shown weaker, but on the same hand, Ishiki was using Boro to kind of hold off Sasuke, as Boro is supposed to fight Sasuke instead of the kids. But then that leads credence to the idea of, well, what does that mean? Now, my interpretation would be that Boro is still very strong, but in the same realm, most of his abilities and most of his powers come from the fact that he has a strong hacks, which is his poison. He heals himself really easily because his power source goes through his body, making it hard to kill him, and then on top of that, he slowly poisons and weakens you. On that same hand, does he still scale a Delta? That's where it becomes really hard. That's why Jubito could actually win this, because if they are relative, then Jubito's True Seeking Orbs probably do null the shit out of Sarada. Sarada really doesn't have a counter for the True Seeking Orbs. So then it's a whole question of, if Jubito is fast enough, then the True Seeking Orb's neg. If he's not, Sarada blitzes. Sarada could actually defeat him, which is why I think it's really interchangeable. Now to number 2, the one that's going to actually get me in trouble, Madara Uchiha. I know what you're all thinking, why does Madara beat Sarada if Sarada's at that full power, and why doesn't he share a position with them? Pretty simple. Madara has verbatim statements of being over Jubito, and when it comes to Sarada, it's pretty simple. Even if Sarada does have the advantage in stats if we give her a high ball, Madara has a bunch of hacks that make it hard. He has the True Seeking Orbs just like before, which work on characters like my guy who had the edge on him AP wise. He has ridiculous healing, he has the Limbo limbo clones, which I don't know how she's going to counter. She can't see them. And on top of that, they're just as strong as he is, which work like shadow clones. And he had over Sarada. And finally, if you haven't guessed it already, number 1 is adult Sasuke Uchiha. Now, Sasuke has clear scaling above Kaguya, who scales above Madara, has hacks that can match the likes of Madara, can see his limbo clones, and on top of that, the scaling is pretty simple here. Kaguya was narratively above Madara, just judging by every type of progression, and has statements having vast greater chakra, does better, etc. And then Sasuke fights the likes of Momoshiki Fused, who should be stronger than Kaguya, as I've explained in other videos. So I don't really see how Madara could beat Sasuke. Sasuke seemingly is just built like that. In terms of everything, Boruto's progression is so much faster than Naruto Shippuden and so much greater that it really becomes hard to contend with one of the strongest characters in the show when you were from Shippuden. Which is why I have Sasuke as the strongest Uchiha. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Leave a like and subscribe and tell me what you want to see next. See you guys.